This is the Porsche Panamera, and it's a very clever proposition. Basically, it's a luxurious four-seater saloon that also happens to be quite a good sports car. A bit like Usain Bolt in a business suit. I've always been massively fond of this thing. This is the Porsche that I affectionately refer to as the big dog. And this is the brand new version that might just be the biggest of them all.
I say brand new, but this is just a facelift. But this facelift promises a sharper design, a new chassis setup, more power, and a new name. Porsche have ditched the Panamera Turbo and replaced it with this, the £135,000 Panamera Turbo S. Now that's big, but are the differences over the previous car big enough?
Honestly, not really, because there's not an awful lot that's changed on this car. They have tweaked the bumper ever so slightly. You now get a body colored section just here, and they've replaced the day running lights. So on the previous car, you had a set of parallel running LEDs just here, and now you get an interrupted C design. Around the side, not much has changed again, but you do get some new wheel designs. These are 21-inch turbo design too. Silver wheels on a blue car though, not for me. Plus some new colors. This is gentian blue in case you're interested. While around the back, you now have a new diffuser to give it a sportier look. On the old car, this entire lower section was body colored, but now you have this, not very nice in my opinion, cheap, tacky black plastic section underneath. It doesn't scream luxury for me, but I am a big fan of this new light section. Now it runs the entire width of the car and looks ever so slightly more premium. Plus, you now get a new indicator design, which has a solid section at the top and aura lines just beneath it. You know, once you've started talking about indicators that you've kind of run out of things to say about a car's design, don't you? Yeah, they really haven't changed much. Let's look inside. There are some changes on the interior of the new Panamera. First and foremost, the steering wheel is basically the same wheel you get on the Porsche 911 Turbo, which has quite a nice floating button design. I like that. Plus, on cars with the Sport Chrono package, you have a new clock by Porsche Design, which is intended to mimic the chronographs from the 1970s. And Porsche will actually even sell you a matching watch if you want to look exactly like your car. Other tweaks, well, they've updated the screens in this car, both on the instrument binnacle on either side of the rev counter and for the infotainment system. These now run at a much higher resolution. Plus, they've updated the memory to use SSD, both in terms of system memory and storage, with the intention of making the entire thing much faster. Not quite as fast as, say, an iPhone, but much quicker than the normal sat-navs you get on most cars. There is a caveat though. Occasionally, when you just start the car for the first time in the morning, for example, it takes an age for the system to boot up. But in general use, it's actually really, really nippy. Oh yeah, almost forgot, they've replaced the USBs. The old ones, the Type A's, have now been replaced with this Type C's. I'm not clutching at straws, honestly. This is a big feature. Now, a standard charger for a phone will charge at 2.5 watts or 5 watts, but now in your Panamera, you can charge compatible phones at up to 15 watts, which is a massive deal. You're looking at me like this isn't big news. Honestly, it's big news, believe me. It's got new indicators and a new USB. It's amazing.
Okay, so it's not exactly brimming with features that would tempt you to upgrade, is it? But they have made one big, massive upgrade, and it lives under the bonnet.
Right, launch control, Sport Plus, wait though, massage, maximum shiatsu, full brake, full throttle, send it. Oh, that was a punch in the back. That's outrageous. There's two types of quick in this world. There's quick, and then there's violently quick. And the Panamera Turbo S is the violent type. 0 to 62 in 3.1 seconds. And this isn't some airy-fairy pie-in-the-sky 3.1 seconds. Nah, this has all-wheel drive, so it will do 0 to 60 in 3.1 every single time. And in almost any weather you care to name. In the real world, this thing is a supercar killer.
And that's down to a killer engine. The Turbo S uses a beefed up version of Porsche's 4-litre V8 bi-turbo. It's the same one that lived in the old Turbo, but here the crankshaft, connecting rods, pistons, timing chain and torsional vibration dampers have been upgraded, allowing for higher load peaks.
That means it now makes a frankly ridiculous 630 horsepower and 820 newton meters of torque. My God, that massage is good. That's 80 horsepower and 50 newton meters more than the previous car. It's obscene, and if you keep your foot in, it'll do 196 miles an hour flat out, with the kids in the back. The sound isn't all that amazing, if I'm being honest, but most of that is down to the fact that this car is so well insulated. I mean, you've got double glazing, you've got thick carpets, you've got enough sound deadening material to basically banish all external noise. But when you listen carefully, you do hear quite a nice engine note, and up front, you hear the turbos whistling away, and it actually does add to the driving experience. Obviously, power is nothing without control, and Porsche have worked really hard on the whole control aspects of this car. It now uses steering that's very similar to what you get in the 911 and in the Porsche Taycan, with the aim being to make the steering more responsive and offer more feedback. I don't remember the previous Panamera being anywhere near as responsive and communicative as this car. The steering is now more direct without being too nervous, and you can definitely feel exactly where the limit of grip is on these Michelin Pilot Sport 4Ss. The Turbo S comes with Porsche. Whoa! What is it with these animals? Perfectly on cue. I was about to talk about the PCCB, Porsche Ceramic Composite Brakes, which are phenomenal. They come as standard on the Panamera Turbo, and the stopping power is absolutely incredible. Not only do they bring this car from high speed to low speed in a manner that's almost as violent as the acceleration, but it's repeatable. So many performance cars have engines that write checks that their brakes can't cash. As for the chassis, well, this car rides on 3-chamber air suspension, and it's equipped with PDCC Sport, Porsche Dynamic Chassis Control Sport, as well as PTV, Porsche Torque Vectoring. PDCC is basically what Porsche calls its active 48-volt anti-roll stabilization technology, the kind of thing you normally get on big sporty SUVs. What it does is it has a motor on the front axle and a motor on the rear axle, and these twist the anti-roll bars, essentially forcing the outside wheel down in order to keep the body flat through corners, and it really does work. I can't detect any meaningful body roll in this car whatsoever. As for PTV, Porsche Torque Vectoring, well, I didn't think I'd be able to feel its effects out here, but you really can, because what tends to happen in a lot of these performance cars is they dull the sensation of speed. You don't know how much speed you're carrying into a corner until it's too late. What normally happens is you get understeer, but in this, you don't get understeer. It breaks the inside rear wheel and helps the nose turn in, so you hit your apex pretty much every single time. It works phenomenally, and you can feel it. Of course, there are some drivers out there who might not appreciate having an external driver aid system having an impact on their driving, but if it works, let it do its thing.
Together, all of this has allowed the Panamera Turbo S to achieve a Nürburgring lap time of 7 minutes 27.81, which is quicker than a Nissan GT-R or Audi R8 V10 Plus. It's around 13 seconds a lap faster than the old car managed 4 years ago. What does this mean in the real world? Not a lot really. 13 seconds over a 7.5 minute lap is a lot, but the Nürburgring has 170 corners.
So we're talking about milliseconds per corner here. Right, here comes a corner, and if I was pushing flat out through this bend, I would have taken it approximately 4 milliseconds quicker. It's just not important in the real world. But hey, that's gonna appeal to some people, and bragging rights is a big deal to people who buy cars like this.
Another great party trick is that when you relax, the car is chilled, comfortable, refined. It's quiet thanks to double glazed windows, tons of insulation, a smooth ride, all the tech you could wish for, and it's even pretty frugal, delivering up to 26 miles per gallon. But is all of that enough?
If you look at the Panamera Turbo S objectively, there really isn't a lot to get excited about, is there? I mean, not unless you're a big fan of new indicators and faster USB ports. But if you're a new Panamera customer, or you're one of these people who are maybe tempted by a fast SUV, I would say you definitely, 100% need to consider the Panamera Turbo S as an option. The Panamera was never about being shouty on the outside or about having numerous gimmicks that other people could look at and be impressed by. It was always about the driving experience and the power. And this Turbo S just turns all of that up to 11. This car just proves that the big dog is bigger than ever.